They weren't lying. Nintendo Switch, in fact, has games. I thought that slogan was so stupid, and now it's like more relevant than ever. The Nintendo Switch has become one of my favorite consoles of all time. And I guess it's not too surprising when I've been playing this as my main gaming console for 8 years. Like bro, I've been playing this console since high school. That's how long it's been. Bro, I've graduated college since then. With the Switch 2 releasing in a week, or maybe less, which oh my gosh, I don't know how we got here. Like, that was pretty quick. Before I say goodbye to the base Switch, I do want to give it a farewell. Take note of some of my favorite games in the past generation before moving on to new adventures. A couple of things before I start listing a bunch of my favorite games. If you're new here, number one, welcome. I'm just a dude who plays games and is trying to make some. You can check that out in the other videos. Number two, this is my list, and this isn't made to detract away from anybody else's opinions, it's just how I feel. It's not even like a really objective list, it's just how I feel. And number three, fellas, I'm sorry. I have not played any Xenoblade or Fire Emblem games, so don't expect them on this list. I know, I hear nothing but great things about them, I just myself have not gotten to play them. So I'm sorry, if you were expecting those anyway. Most people who know me know that I'm not a super big RPG guy, and the RPGs that I do play, I take at a slower pace than most. I can't play multiple RPGs back to back or all at once. It just gets too much for me. Which you can judge that how you want to, it's just I, myself, cannot do that. There are still plenty of games that I want to play and couldn't even get to within the span of 8 years. Whether they released recently or were released like all the way back in 2019 or something. I just wasn't able to play it all. But thankfully I should be able to get to more of my backlog on Switch 2. Hopefully. If anything, that should go for how many great games are on the system to begin with. You just don't have enough time to get to most of them. Maybe you do if it's like your job, but it's not my job, so I don't. Okay, with all of that out of the way, I think I can finally start talking about some of my honorable mentions. These are games that didn't quite make the list for one reason or another, and they also don't really have too much for me to say on them. They're just kinda good games that I really like. Most of the footage used in this video are going to be from like the actual trailers and stuff that Nintendo themselves published, so it's not going to be anything new or crazy that you haven't seen before. I just don't have time to record gameplay for every one of these games. First on the list, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. One of the best 2D platformers I've ever played, and one of my favorite games of all time, is on the Switch, and that's all I really need to be happy. Despite being one of my favorite games of all time, it's not going to be on my top 20 list because I mostly played it on the Wii U, but it was nice to just replay it again on the Switch. Next is F-Zero 99, a very fun battle royale game that is personally one of my favorites in the genre. I'm not good at Tetris. Really makes me wish the series got another shot at a comeback during the Switch era, but hopefully the Switch 2 era will give it a chance. Not too much to say besides that, it's just a really fun battle royale game. I love it, but I do gotta say it's kinda weird that they keep saying this game is done with updates, just to drop another update out of nowhere anyways. I don't know, it's kinda odd. Next up, I'm gonna talk about a few games from Kirby. Kirby had a pretty good time on the Switch, getting most games released on NSO and having a bunch of smaller eShop titles. I want to focus on the eShop spin-offs right now, because even though I won't sit here and tell you that they're like hidden gems that like are amazing and everyone's sleeping on, they're not exploding with content or having a bunch of things for you to do, but for what they do have as budget titles, they are still really solid. Kirby Fighters 2 is a really fun game that I made an entire video on. Of course, nothing came from it, but it is what it is. Super Kirby Clash, despite receiving a lot of hate, is actually the most active game out of the three I'm thinking of. People are consistently playing that game all the time online. I can go on right now and still find people playing, which is kind of crazy considering that the other two games died so fast. Kirby's Dream Buffet is definitely my favorite of the three, having the most unique gameplay style and just being relatively really fun to play. Although it also did suffer the fate of dying relatively quickly, due to there not being too much content. There's a lot to unlock, but after a couple hours you've basically seen everything. Didn't stop me and my friends from playing at least 30 hours of it. Really, all I can say is that I've had a lot of fun with all of these, and it's been really nice to just have consistent titles releasing. Miitopia is one of my favorite games on the 3DS that made it over to Switch. I really love how goofy and silly this game is in general, and I just love putting my friends into random situations while also having an adventure to play. Like, this game is so unserious, but also being able to add whoever you want now with the new Mii Maker makes it even more funny. The game itself is still also relatively fun as a video game. It's not super in-depth or anything like that, but I like it a lot. Frankly, while a lot of people like Tomodachi Life, I never really bought into it, but this was the closest I think I'll ever get to that. At least until the sequel comes out. I might have to give that a try. Again, not on my top 20 because I played it on the 3DS a lot. I almost finished it on 3DS, but for some reason I just didn't. So yeah, another great game that I enjoyed, just now on Switch. Now, while I could point out individual games, I do actually just kind of want to say indie games as a whole, because I've played so many more than I usually would on my Switch alone. So many great games like Cuphead, Ultimate Chicken Horse, Speedrunners. I've had so much fun playing on my Switch, especially with my friends. It's just been a great time overall. And considering how many indie games there are, and they keep coming to the Switch, and inevitably Switch 2, I'm gonna have a lot to play. Really, the main reason this list of indie games is actually pretty small is because sometimes I get indie games on my PS5 because they will run better than they would on the Switch. That really wouldn't be the case if the Switch just ran them all perfectly, but it is what it is. My biggest hope right now is that a lot of indie games actually get Switch 2 editions or improved frame rates and resolutions just for the Switch 2. And lastly, and arguably least, is actually Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Scarlet. The first double feature on my list has two Pokemon games that I actually enjoyed quite a decent amount in their own ways. They both have a lot of issues that I could really get into, but this is not that kind of video to be doing that. I will admit that a lot of the issues people have with the games do not affect me directly. The main reason I play Pokemon is for battling and the competitive scene. So a lackluster story, ugly graphics, they don't affect me nearly as much. Being new to Pokemon, Pokemon Sword was actually my second game that I played in the series, first being Sun and Moon. So while I was enjoying that game a decent amount, I kinda knew that it wasn't gonna be one of my favorite games. But everything after the main story was really good. The DLC had a lot of promise, with fun characters, new Pokemon, and the music, oh my gosh, the music is really good. Like, really good. Probably the best part about the game, if I'm being honest. My friends and I have put countless hours just kind of battling each other for fun in a free-for-all format. It's been really fun to just play Sword and Shield. Now, Pokemon Scarlet I have not put nearly as much time into. In fact, I haven't even finished the DLC, let alone officially start it. But everything I've seen from it looks really good, and I'm excited to get into it. Hopefully on the Switch too, when the game is playable. I think a lot of the characters are great, the new Pokemon are great. Unfortunately, the music's not as good as Pokemon Sword, but it's serviceable. I left both of these games thinking that they were still alright, I still enjoyed my time with them, but due to the many issues that they both have, they're not making it on my list. I'm not a super huge Pokemon guy, outside of competitive play, so they probably weren't going to be on my list anyways, but they are definitely notable games that I enjoyed and put a lot of time into. Alright, with all those other games out of the way, we can finally get into what my top 20 Switch experiences have been. So let's get into it. Yeah, the first game on my list actually isn't a Switch exclusive. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is a game that I think deserves way more attention than it ever has gotten. Not a lot of people even know this game was released, since it was only really shown off and talked about in one Nintendo Direct. And let's just say EA didn't do anything themselves to push this game, so basically no one knew this game happened. Which is such a shame, dude. This is a fantastic Metroidvania. Funny enough, I'm not a super huge fan of Metroidvania type games, because I'm a baby and I don't like to backtrack that much, and or get lost and end up having to look something up to see where I'm at. But this game actually does a really good job at keeping me engaged and just letting me explore.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The combat is great, and like any other Metroidvania game, you start to level up and get even more abilities that expand not only your combat potential, but your movements. And it's just so smooth when you get everything all together. Like getting an air dash, you can also get a dash and kick, You can get an upward swing that combos into more aerial combos, you get a downward spike attack, you get a dash attack combo launcher. It just feels so good. If you haven't already, or didn't even know this game existed, I recommend giving it a try. It's basically on everything, and there's a demo for every version as far as I'm aware. But the devs did say it was made with Switch in mind, so on Switch it is pretty good, honestly. It's a pretty stable 60 frames per second, like the entire way through. It dips in some cutscenes, and some of the models aren't as high res as you would probably want, but aside from that, it looks really nice. The boss fights were fantastic, the music was pretty good, the story was interesting, I was there for it all. And yet for some reason the team got disbanded, which is really not cool. But at least the team got to make a banger game. Hopefully, one day, more people will realize that this game is actually worth it and stop sleeping on it. Growing up as a GameCube kid, you can probably assume that I have played Luigi's Mansion. I never owned the game, so I wasn't able to beat it as a kid, but I did play a good chunk of it at the daycare with my friends. This time, I got to give Luigi's Mansion a proper shot. Luigi's Mansion 3 to this day is still probably one of the best looking Switch games I've ever seen. It straight up looks like a movie sometimes, I don't know how they did it. The lighting is superb, just everything. It looks so good. But of course that wouldn't matter if the gameplay wasn't fun. While the gameplay is relatively at a lower pace than most, collecting stuff just never stops being fun. Like, I just want to collect as much money as possible. I don't even know why. Like, I know at the end of the game you get like a screen that shows how much money you got, but realistically, it has no immediate value. I just want to collect stuff. You can just feel this game bursting at the seams with charm and passion, and it's all there. Like, it's everything that I ever really need from a video game. While it's not as infinitely replayable as the first game, I would still say it's worth just playing the game generally. Overall, fantastic game. Mario & Luigi has a special place in my heart, so I'm pretty sure you can imagine my immense shock and hype seeing that it was actually coming back on the Switch. I love this game. It kind of feels like one of those games that if you stick through it and see to the end, it really shines through and shows you that it was genuinely a product made with passion and love. Honestly, the pacing is my only real issue with the game. Of course, my favorite aspect of Mario & Luigi is actually the combat. This game does not disappoint on that front either, although, like I said with the pacing, it takes a while for it to actually get going. But when it does, it is really good. The engaging combat, stylish presentation, solid music, a great story. This game has all the ingredients to be absolutely phenomenal, but it just misses the mark in a couple of areas that kind of hold it back. But it's on the list for a reason. I love Mario & Luigi Brothership. I understand why people are so mixed on this game, but I can't help but love it. Hopefully, Mario & Luigi as a series can stick around. This game is such a weird game, you know? Like, Tears of the Kingdom is such a weird video game. One of the most hyped games of all times, following after Breath of the Wild, which was phenomenal. I love Breath of the Wild. It's one of the few Zelda games I've actually beaten. I've played a lot of them, but I actually have not beaten that many of them. Chalk that up to inexperience growing up as a kid. So you would think that a sequel would just be an instant knockout of the park. And technically it still is, but at the same time, I'm not as big of a fan of it as I am other games. There's a handful of valid criticism that gets thrown towards this game, but at the end of the day, it's still a well put together, well made game, and I can't help but respect that. It's more Breath of the Wild gameplay, which I love, mixed with actual dungeons and unique different bosses. Those were my main criticisms with Breath of the Wild, and it seems to have already, patched those up. I'm not trying to be as negative on this game, it just seems like it's one of those games that's easier to complain about. The new abilities did make shrines and puzzles a little bit more interesting, and I did appreciate that. Fusing weapons was one of my new favorite features that they added. I actually liked it more than making vehicles and such, which is still really funny, but not something I really cared for. Like I said, really fun time. I like this game a lot. I sunk in 100 hours into it. But there just so happen to be games that I like more on this list. As stated before, I'm a GameCube kid. You know what else I played on the GameCube, or at least watched my uncle play, was a bunch of Pikmin. I've been a pretty big fan of the series for quite some time, playing all the re-releases on the Wii, playing Pikmin 3 on the Wii U because, well, frankly, there wasn't too much else to play at the time, and awaiting Pikmin 4. And now that we finally have it, it's kind of crazy to just say that we have Pikmin 4. It feels like it's always been this weird, elusive game that Miyamoto teased one time, and for nearly a decade we just heard nothing about it, and most people just lost hope in it. Pikmin 4 alone has done so much for the growth of the franchise, and I can't help but be super happy about it. Pikmin finally had a new game on a system that is not failing, so it was able to actually get some decent numbers in. Pikmin 4 is a really good game, but actually not my favorite Pikmin game. It's weird, I have all this respect for the game, it's gorgeous, it plays really well. Personally, I don't think the soundtrack is as good as the previous titles, which does kind of hurt it for me a little bit. That being said, Pikmin 4, as an experience, is one of the best games you can get on the system. It's super well polished, it's charming, it's fun to play, it's got all the basic ingredients to make a great game. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend giving it a shot. Which, I mean, I guess I can recommend every game on this list thus far, or at least giving it a go. I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna say that about almost every game. The only Pokemon game to make this list, spoilers, is, unsurprisingly, Pokemon Legends Arceus. Pokemon Legends Arceus was like the second time that I played a Pokemon game and was kind of like Frank from Always Sunny, where I was like, I get it. I understand why people like these games. With Sword and Shield, I mostly liked just the competitive aspects of the game more than the actual game itself, but since this game didn't really have any of that, I thought I wasn't gonna like it as much, but as a single player experience, it's genuinely just great. No Pokemon game is flawless. This one, of course, has a bunch of issues of its own. It's kinda ugly, doesn't really run well, and since this game doesn't have any competitive multiplayer, it's a little bit harder for me to ignore those aspects of the game. But I still really love this game. I love all the new Pokemon they added, and like just all the different variants you can get. Shiny hunting, if you're into that sort of thing, is really good in this game. Collecting Pokemon is the most fun it's ever been. I've never given two craps about catching any Pokemon or completing the dex, but this game genuinely makes me want to. So yeah, most people would agree this is the best Pokemon game on the system, and one of the best Pokemon games of all time, maybe. I don't know, I'm still new. This game is getting a sequel, so who knows, maybe Pokemon Legends ZA will actually get on my top 10. Or maybe not. Do you ever really know with Pokemon? Growing up during the Brawl days, I actually never really knew who Geno was or why people wanted him in Smash. After playing this game, yeah, I get it. Playing Super Mario RPG for the first time was really interesting. It kind of made me realize that a lot of aspects that I like about Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi originate from this game. It's not entirely one-to-one, like every single game has their own little differences between each other. They're all still different Mario RPGs, but it still has that gameplay that I really like, which is just kind of basic button commands. I don't know, it just does more for me. I like it when you get to defend or get additional damage, stuff like that. As a remake, I gotta point out the fact that it looks visually stunning. And the music is phenomenal, dude. Oh my gosh, the remixes are so good in this game. And something I like to do, since I never played the original, was I would swap between both versions of the soundtrack, just to hear like what it originally sounded like and what it sounds like now. And it's such a crazy contrast, but I love that you get the option to do that. Like actually, is this the best Mario RPG there is? Like, all of them share so much DNA in terms of combat, the charming and funny writing, the amazing music, like, just everything in this game is great. Gee, I wonder how many games I've said are great at this point. To this day, Pikmin 3 is still my favorite Pikmin game in the series. I will say I do think Pikmin 4 is genuinely a better experience, but Pikmin 3 is the better game in my opinion. It just kind of perfectly refines the classic formula, while also changing up just enough to stand out a little bit more, while also not being as random and kind of harsh as Pikmin 2. Now you might be asking, why did this game get on the list, whereas Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze did not? Which, honestly, I kind of like that game a little bit more. But it's also because while I have played this game a lot on the Wii U, I played it a lot more on Switch. The addition of multiplayer, more bingo battle time, as well as the new content in the deluxe edition, I think warrant this game being at least on the list. Like this game a lot. I don't have much else to say besides that, honestly. After years and years of not having a brand new original 2D Mario game, we finally have one. As expected, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is the breath of fresh air that the 2D Mario formula needed, after it was kinda stuck in the new Super Mario Bros. Rut for a really long time. It's like the sequel to Mario World I never knew I wanted, but now that I have it, I'm just so happy it exists. Such a whimsical adventure with great art direction, really good music, and the level design is where this game really shines. I don't know what they were on when they made half of these stages. It's kind of crazy to see them just make stuff up. Like, Wonder Flowers really do change the gameplay a lot, and it never gets boring. Like, whenever you come back to an older concept, they'll revamp it in some weird way, or make it more challenging, to just make it more interesting. And it just keeps going and going and building and building. The game's badge system also allows for you to have a little bit more freedom in what you want to do and how you tackle obstacles. I found a couple times where the spin jump would come in clutch for me, or the crouching jump would actually help me get to places that I wouldn't otherwise. Everything about this game just feels right. It has that grade A Mario polish that you expect from any mainline Mario game. Honestly, really curious how they're gonna follow up from this game, since clearly we're gonna get another 2D Mario eventually. And if it's anywhere near the quality of this game, I can't wait. I think Mario 3D World is like the perfect way to encapsulate the entire Wii U era. Like, nobody wanted it, but you kinda learned to love it. I understand why people didn't really want this game as much, considering that it's more of a sequel to 3D Land and not something like Mario Galaxy, but I for one have always kind of enjoyed the fact that 3D World takes aspects from 2D Mario and puts them into 3D. But no, this is not the full story. This is not just a port of 3D World. We gotta talk about the big edition, Bowser's Fury, which is kinda what takes up most of the discussion around this game nowadays. Bowser's Fury was a new mode added to this game kind of like as a deluxe edition, which has an entirely new story and a new environment as a whole. It kinda gives you smaller segments of, like, say, a Mario 64 stage for you to constantly go through and find new things to do, and I really dig that. As soon as you're done with one area, you leave, and if you come back later, there's gonna be a new challenge for you to tackle. The appeal of Bowser being a stage hazard kinda wears off a little bit, and it kinda becomes a little bit more tedious by the end of it, but initially when you first saw it, everyone was like, this is just cool, cause it is! The awesome rock music, the design, everything about it is just awesome. What I think is most fun about this game is that it keeps the power-up system that 3D World set out and other classic 2D Mario games have, while putting it in an open environment, which is something that we've never really had before. Like, that was something that always bothered me, was like in Galaxy you'd get a fire flower, but you know, after like the song ends, you lose it. You can't keep holding on to it. This game, on the other hand, you can actually store items, which is something brand new, and I kinda dig the fact that we have an inventory now. It gives you more of a reason to collect power-ups if you already have one. Of course, grade A Mario polish, fantastic level design, great presentation. Oh my god, don't get me started on this game's soundtrack, baby! Bowser's Fury is a tighter connection between 2D Mario and 3D Mario, and I think we could really use more of this. I really like the formula that Bowser's Fury sets up for a potential 3D Mario game down the line. I don't know if it's going to actually follow through, or if we might get a full game sequel to just Bowser's Fury, but either way, I'm here for it. Well, we finally made it to the top 10 of the list. I'm pretty sure most of you, by process of elimination, can guess what a few of these are going to be, at least like 4 or 5 of them. But anyways, let's get on with it. Like, damn, this video is taking way too long. And here we have Dragon Quest XI, or as it's actually known, Dragon Quest XI S, Echoes of an Elusive Age, Definitive Edition. Like, God, why's the title gotta be so long? I guess that goes for how long the game is, honestly, because damn, it took me a while to beat this game. My friends know that it took me like almost 3 years to fully complete this game. And like I said before, that's because when I play an RPG, I really like to take my time. And honestly, that was one of the best experiences I've ever had. Like, anytime I opened this game back up, it was just like I got a cute little summary about what's happening, I was never out of place on where I was, I knew exactly what I was going to be doing. It was like watching anime, basically. Like, you know, say an episode gets released every couple weeks. That's basically what it was like every time I opened the game up again. It was so much fun. I never played Dragon Quest beforehand, but I have heard about it plenty of times. And I'm really happy that this is a Dragon Quest game that got me into it. Just the characters, the story, everything about it was so endearing, so much fun. I loved everybody. Sylvando, my goat, the absolute mad lad, Eric, my man, like, oh, dude, they're so great. I really wouldn't want to spoil anything in terms of story, so it's even hard to talk about just how good the story and characters are. So I'm just gonna say that, go play it. Please, oh my gosh, go play it if you haven't. I know most people have, but please go play it. I want you to know that before playing this game, my entire Monster Hunter experience was me and my friends download demos on 3DS or Wii U, play the entire demo, say, wow, that was really fun, we should buy this game, and then never buy the game. For once, we all actually chipped in and bought Monster Hunter Rise, and we never regretted it. We hopped on the grind, and it was one of the best multiplayer experiences I've ever had. It's just so much fun to be hunting monsters. The combat in these games is fantastic. Building sets is pretty fun, although I myself am not very good at it, so I make very basic, easy to understand stuff. And every weapon class has just enough to keep you interested in wanting to learn how it works. I main Hammer in every game because Hammer's the best one, it go bonk. And since this was my first Monster Hunter game, the fact that it was quote-unquote too easy compared to other games didn't really affect me or my enjoyment. Silkbinds are an amazing mechanic that I really wish would return, and Palamutes, as much as people don't really care for them, I enjoyed having a dog. I will say I was not a big fan of collecting the birds for my HP increases, because that's what food is for. Like, come on. And then, when Sunbreak dropped, it was over. Like, we were all on Sunbreak, just to finish the game. There's so much more to sink your teeth into, monsters are harder, more gear to collect. It was so much fun! This game has made me a fan of Monster Hunter and made me want to play even more games going forward. I don't know if I'll go back and play the older ones because I hear a lot of mixed things about how they're a little bit more janky, a little bit more aged. I'm not sure how I'll feel about that, but who knows. Still, really fun. Absolute blast playing this game. We have Wilds now, so there's not really much of a reason to go back, but I still think Rise does enough different that if you are able to get it on something, it's worth trying. Next on the list is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's Mario Kart, guys. I love it. You probably love it. In my opinion, with the DLC, it's probably the best Mario Kart game we have, until maybe Mario Kart World, which, oh my god, that game looks so great. Even then, the best game just to play with your friends, it's fun offline, it's fun online. The end. It's Mario Kart. Good game. You probably own it, honestly. And I'm pretty sure nobody's surprised to see a Kirby game this high on the list. Kirby's Return to Dreamland is one of the most important games to me. Like, just in general. It's what inspired me to become a game dev in the first place. And now, one of my most influential games has a deluxe edition on the Switch. Like, it's over. It was already gonna be on here. This version of the game has like 2/3 original content. There was a lot going into this, which makes the overall package just perfect. Return to Dreamland is still a really solid game despite not being as good as the games that came afterwards, refining the formula even more. But even though it's not the best, you can still have a really good time with this game. Especially all of the little quality of life changes that they added, like super abilities being a little bit faster paced so they don't take as long, new enemy replacements and size changes in extra mode to just give it a little bit more, and makes it even more difficult by removing food. We got a new story mode in Magolor's Epilogue, which is just really fun, oh my gosh. It changes up the gameplay by giving you a new playable character. There's so much going on here, there's some lore implications, it's more challenging than the rest of the game. The level design is actually much better, I would argue. Level design is actually a step up from the original base game, which I would expect because it's modern HAL. Music's fantastic, of course. And then you have Merry Magoland, which, like, nobody even was that concerned about. Like, there was too many games in the original game, but now there's 10 to celebrate all 30 years of Kirby. A bunch of different minigames from across the entire series put into this one game, with a lot of fan favorites, some new adjustments like level systems and such. It was, The fact that me and my friends can still pop this in and have a good time every once in a while shows to me that this is such high quality. HAL Labs, like they always do, went above and beyond to make this really worth the price of admission. Cause yes, it was a remake of a Wii game that cost full price, but they added so much that I didn't even care. Which, of course, that might just be the Kirby bias in me talking, but I don't care. I don't care that much. Magolor Epilogue has showed me that they still have plenty of ideas in the tank for a 2D Kirby game, which gets me excited for the return of 2D Kirby someday. This game, as a finale, put like almost the perfect bow on top of Kirby's 30th anniversary. Like, can we be real and say that Kirby had one of the best anniversaries of any gaming franchise? The bar might be kinda low on that, but still, Kirby of all series. It was just such a good time to be a Kirby fan. I love this game so much. Easily cracking my top 10. Yeah, you knew it was gonna be on the list somewhere. Smash Ultimate has so many characters, so much content. For a while, it felt like the entire world revolved around Smash. For better or for worse. This game actually helped me travel, and I made a lot of new friends along the way while going to tournaments for the first time. Just like Mario Kart, it's one of those games that just brings people together. My passion for the game has kind of died off, for one reason or another. I don't really play it too often, I don't see my friends who used to play it all the time, and I definitely don't go to tournaments anymore. But that being said, I still will always love and respect this game. It really did feel like Sakurai put his heart and soul into this game specifically, to give us as much as we wanted, to try to please as many people as possible. Easy top 10, it's a great game. I know it's a great game, you know it's a great game, most of us own this game. It's Smash Ultimate. Now, a lot of people's list would end with this title alone. I have so many memories of playing Breath of the Wild when the Switch 1 launched in high school. It was just a different experience. It felt awesome. It was a big deal, and it still is to this day. Honestly, you might be able to argue between this and Tears of the Kingdom being in relatively the same spot. Like, you could swap their places and I wouldn't even be too mad, because Tears of the Kingdom is just Breath of the Wild but more. And while I do prefer Tears of the Kingdom's music and dungeons and actual bosses, there's just something about Breath of the Wild that I like more. It might be nostalgia, honestly. Once again, not too much to say, because it's Breath of the Wild. Everybody knows about how good this game is. I'm pretty sure it's the best-selling Zelda game to date, and that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Future Vic Trey here, I just gotta say that I've been playing this on my Switch 2 in 4K 60, and I love this game so much. I'm so happy I went back to replay it, actually. Anyways, fantastic game. Why is it not higher? Just because, personally, I'm not as big of a Zelda guy as I am other series. Once again, it's another game that everybody knows is fantastic, critically acclaimed, best-selling Zelda game. Like, what else do you want me to say? There's plenty of videos singing this game's praises, so I don't think I need to do it too much here. Further adding to bangers in 2017, Sonic Mania was just the perfect game for Sonic at that time. Initially, when it was revealed, I actually wasn't a big fan of it. I was like, why are we doing the pixel art style? Why are we going back to 2D traditional Sonic games? I want to see the new 3D Sonic game, which we did end up seeing that day. And that turned out to be Sonic Forces. Mania just does everything right for me. This is one of the few times that a new Sonic game has felt like an actual celebration, as opposed to just throwing stuff in to pander. The presentation, the level design, the music, oh my god, T-Lopes, the music, it is all here for me. I love this game so much, and having it portably is just one of the best games I can just turn on and play for a little bit. It's a great celebration of one of my favorite series of all time, because it remixes so many old ideas to make them new again, and definitely up there as one of my favorite Sonic titles of all time for reminding me why I love this series. Okay, I'll admit, I'm kinda cheating here, I won't lie, but in this way, it's better to think about it as I don't have Splatoon 2 and 3 taking up separate slots on this list. Splatoon was the humble new IP on the Wii U, and quickly became one of Nintendo's most popular series just overnight. Like, everyone knew about it during the Wii U era, and they thought it was interesting, but it was also kinda weird. But it did really well for the Wii U. And then Splatoon 2 becomes a launch title for Switch 1, and it's in a whole new game. Pretty quick turnaround, I mean, honestly. DLC ended like a year or two ago, and then they just make a new game. Splatoon 2, fantastic, love that game, very fun. I am a hardcore Splatoon player, so I really do like the competitive aspects of it. At some point, it wasn't as fun. Eventually, while the competitive started waning, we did get DLC, that was also amazing, still probably my favorite story in all of Splatoon so far. Octo Expansion is genuinely like the main reason you'd want to get this game. And it's so good. I love Octo Expansion. Not only do you get a banger single player, but your reward for beating it is that you get to play as your Octoling. Like, even back in Splatoon 1, people wanted playable Octolings. And now we finally have them, and it just feels awesome. And then comes Splatoon 3 in 2022. The story mode was great because it was more like Splatoon 2's Octo Expansion, which just made it more addictive to play. We got some new specials and some old specials returning, which made the game a little bit more interesting because honestly, Splatoon 2 had some pretty lackluster specials. Oh my god, I'm so happy that Kraken is back. That is my favorite. That is my favorite special. It's just so cool, and I love it. I hate Baller. And we kind of got the idea that whenever a new Splatoon game comes out, it kind of just replaces the previous one, which is true, especially when they're on the same console. And given that Splatoon 3 has so many quality of life changes and improvements, it's kind of hard to disagree with that. New movement options, new weapons, new specials. Salmon Run is now its own mode separately from everything else, and it's awesome. Like, I can just go there and play whenever I feel like it. It's not tied to a certain time of day or anything. You just go and get to work. That alone, I've put in at least like 30-40 hours into. But that's probably not a lot considering that I have a lot of time in Splatoon 3. Then after that, we got so much new content with the Grand Festival, we got a new DLC pack, like everything was just going perfectly smooth for me. Either way, both Splatoon 2 and 3, great games. Recommend playing them or at least giving them a try. It is kind of hard to get into them because they are very, very competitive. Like, after 3 games, people are just really good at Splatoon, so it is insanely hard to get into, and I understand that people might not want to. Especially when Splatoon 3 has an even higher focus on competitive play, it's a lot. But yeah, if you didn't know, I love Splatoon. Editor's note, I didn't know that we were going to be getting DLC and a new version of a game with third kits. What? And a spin-off? Dude, this is... what? Now, what is there to really say that countless others haven't already? This game, along with Breath of the Wild, solidified the Switch as having one of the best console launches of all time, starting with Zelda and then ending with Mario for the holiday season. It was just smart, it was like a no-brainer. Mario Odyssey was the return to the traditional sandbox 3D Mario that people really wanted. Running through this game, getting lost in the world, and just having fun collecting moons, which there might be a little bit too many for some people, but since I didn't 100% complete the game a second time, it wasn't that big of a deal for me. Capture mechanic is great, I love Cappy, the story was actually engaging, pretty decent boss fights for a Mario game, and of course, the music is just mwah. Mario Odyssey is just filled with so much love, charm, and passion that you can feel that Nintendo polished to near perfection. And everyone basically has this in their top 5 list, like guaranteed. It's just that good, and I can't wait to see what Nintendo does to outdo themselves with this one. That's how you know you have a great game, is when you sit back and you say, man, how are they gonna top this next time? And then somehow they find a way. Right now, we're probably gonna have to wait a bit for a 3D Mario, since it seems like the Odyssey team is working on Donkey Kong Bonanza, which I am super excited for. That game just looks amazing. This game is not only one of my favorite Switch games, but one of my favorite video games of all time. Now, with all of those out of the way, I can actually get to my number 1 game on the Nintendo Switch. If you know me, this will not come as a surprise to anybody. If you don't know me, you might be surprised at the fact that this game is so high, and if you're a Xenoblade or a Fire Emblem fan, again, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that they weren't on the list. Anyways, my number 1 Switch game of all time is... Man, where do I even begin? My entire life, being a Kirby fan, I've always wanted Kirby to make that big step into 3D. And come 2022, it finally happened. While I didn't get my reaction recorded, there were in fact tears coming from my eyes as soon as I saw Kirby in a new game that was 3D. The reveal trailer alone takes me back. I was watching that almost every day religiously, looking forward to this game. I wasn't even trying to analyze everything, I was just mesmerized by the fact that this game exists finally. Fantastic presentation. I swear, up and down, this is one of the best looking Switch games to ever exist. Is it the best? Probably not. I mean, we have Pikmin 4, Luigi's Mansion 3, stuff like that. I do feel this game does not get enough respect for how good it looks at times. The music, phenomenal, not even a question. One of the best soundtracks in the series. The sheer production value of all of these songs in this game is just next level stuff, which makes me even more excited for whatever the heck they're gonna try to make next. The gameplay nearly perfectly translates everything that I love about Kirby into 3D, like seamlessly. If you didn't know any better, you'd probably assume that this is just another 3D Kirby game, but it's the first one. The combat in this game, so good. Like, it is really good. I would argue this game has one of the best combat systems for any 3D platformer. While the movesets for each ability are rather small in comparison to every other 2D Kirby entry, they make as much use out of every move as possible in this game. They even make some abilities I didn't like too much really fun to use, like Needle. The dodge mechanic is such a really good way that adds even more depth to reading and engaging with bosses' attacks in order to maximize the amount of damage you can get out of it. The entire way through, I 100%ed the game in 4 days straight, and had nothing but the biggest smile on my face the entire time. No surprise to anybody who knows me, this game is my absolute GOAT. Yeah, Kirby and the Forgotten Land is my #1 game on Nintendo Switch. And words cannot describe how happy I am that Forgotten Land is getting a Switch 2 edition, which is also going to have not only boosted frame rates and resolutions, but new content? Hello? Yes, please? Well, that was long. That was a lot. Especially weird considering that, most of my videos nowadays are going to be focusing on my game dev journey, as opposed to me just talking and rambling on about video games that I like. Maybe I'll try doing this a little bit more once in a while, and if you couldn't tell, this video was a little bit rushed because the Switch 2 was right around the corner when this was coming out, and I was trying to get as much done as possible, but obviously, the Switch 2 came out before I was able to get this video. And that's also why I've been kind of quiet because, I got a Switch 2, so I had to be playing that. Love me some Mario Kart, having to replay Zelda, all these other things are going on. I had a lot of fun making this. Probably gonna be my longest video for a while, because holy hell, I'm looking at the time right now and it says it's almost like, it's like 50 minutes? What do you mean? Anyways. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and if you think I missed some games on the list, why not give me like a little comment in the bottom. I would love to discuss what your favorite games are on the system, at least your top 5, because I'm always curious, I love just discussing things with people. I will soon get back to more Mains Quest content, I'm just gonna drop this here for now, we'll see how this does. It's just kind of something I wanted to do, just to say a goodbye to the Switch 1, because that has been my main console for 8 years, as I've said before, I'm pretty sure. Sorry, this video is really long and I've kind of forgotten some things that I've said. So, goodbye, Switch 1. You were one of my favorite consoles of all time. And now, I'll just be able to keep playing your fantastic library on my next system. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.